Hey guys, it's Kevin here. Um, I was watching this video by Maximilian Dude a bunch of times already about him going through the Street Fighter history and I guess his side of the story, where he was during that time, during those releases, basically giving um, a whole history of him playing through the Street Fighter franchise. I thought I'd do the same thing. I want to give my take and my side of where I was in throughout Street Fighter history and how I contributed to the franchise itself. So let's see what we got here. We're going to go to Museum and you go to History. Alright, the first one, Street Fighter. The first Street Fighter game to ever come out. I at that time I wasn't alive. I was born in 2000, so a lot of these games I'm not there for their release, but I have had experiences with them after I was born. My father was actually he loved fighting games in addition to racing games. So what he did was he would go to arcades in New York when he lived in New York, and he would play games. And one of those games was Street Fighter, particularly Street Fighter 1. He remembered that it was very bad. The controls were very clunky and wonky, but it was like it was like a big thing. It was a big deal because it was like a next step in gaming history. So that's pretty cool. Street Fighter cartridge version announced. Yeah, Fighting Street Street Fighter CD-ROM version is released, and Final Fight. Okay, Final Fight as the prototype of Street Fighter 89 exhibited at Arcade Show. Yeah, I actually don't know about this right here, the Final Fight prototype, but I have heard of Street Fighter cartridge, the cartridge version of Street Fighter, and Fighting Street. Um, my dad did not have the CD-ROM, but he did back when it was popular to rent out video games. He did pick up this cartridge version of the first Street Fighter game, so I thought that was pretty cool. Like he said, it was really bad controlling the Street Fighter game, and that was on the arcade version where you had an actual joystick and whatnot. The cartridges, it was mostly D-pads and stuff like that, which was much worse in my dad's opinion, and I think it's much worse in my opinion. I personally don't like playing fighting games with the D-pad if I'm playing on a pad, unless I'm playing Tekken. Home computer versions released. Cool. Final Fight. Yes, I actually do remember. I actually do remember something like this. Before Street, before it was called Street, before it was Final Fight, it was called Street Fighter 89, and then Final Fight became released, and then they eventually changed Final Fight into a Street Fighter franchise, which again led up to Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2010, the Final Fight. Oh my god. This wasn't even a Street Fighter game. It was Ken, and it took place in the future in 2010. Ken was like a scientist and whatnot. He had like a white lab coat, but he... It wasn't a fighting game. It was more like a 2D scroller adventure kind of thing. And it was on the... It's an old game. It came out in 1990, I believe. I don't know if it was NES or SNES. I don't know which console it came out from, but it was interesting because it wasn't like any other Street Fighter game that you see today. Street Fighter 2. Now this is the meat of my dad's history. My dad loved Street Fighter 2. He would have it. He would go to arcades all the time to play a lot of games. Like he would play Golden Axe, Metal Slug, and all that stuff. But primarily Street Fighter 2. Yes, Street Fighter 2. Um, it was to him it was amazing. It was revolutionary, especially when it came to fighting games. Because most fighting games, you there are a lot of unpopular fighting games, but those are the games that pioneered the Street Fighter franchise. And it's so interesting to hear my dad's past in fighting games, because he would I would say that he was pretty good at fighting games. You know, he knew what he was doing. He knew how to play the game and stuff like that. Um, yeah, when Street Fighter 2 was there, he would go to arcades and play Street Fighter 2, and it was insane for him. It was revolutionary and all that stuff. Let's check out some of the art. Ah, yes, Balrog. That's Blanca, also known as Jimmy, Chun-Li, Dhalsim, E Honda. That's Guile. Ah, Ken Masters. Ken was my dad's favorite character to play as. He loved playing as Ken. I don't know why over Ryu. I think it's because he had the fiery, he had a fiery Shoryuken, and he loved that about him. So that's my guess. He also liked the fact that his Tatsumaki Senpukyaku was multi-hit and stuff like that. M. Bison. M. Bison is named after, I think it's in reference to Mike Tyson, I believe. In Japan, I believe it's Japan. I think it's Japan and some European countries. M. Bison and Vega are switched. Like, their names are switched. So basically, in here, in America, M. Bison was Vega in Europe or in Japan, and for Vega was M. Bison in Japan or Europe. So that was pretty cool. Alright. So yeah, Street Fighter 2, it was amazing. He even got the cartridge version, the home console version as a kid. I don't know if he rented it or purchased it. I don't know if he rented it or purchased it, but I think he rented it. An SNES copy of it. Now we get into Street Fighter, the upgrades, the updates, you know, where Street Fighter 2 becomes a little, I think this is Street Fighter 2 Turbo? Is this Street Fighter 2 Turbo? No, this is Champion Edition. Okay. My dad has played all of the versions. He's played Champion Edition, Hyper Fighting, he's played Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Street Fighter 2 was probably his favorite game to play. It was probably one of his favorite games in the franchise. Oh, there it is. Street Fighter 2 released on a 16-bit home cartridge. Probably the Super Nintendo version. That's where he got it. Wow, look at this. File, soundtrack, and art book is released. Yeah, file soundtracks and art books were highly valuable, and I guess they were more relevant at that time because, well, nowadays we can just look at our phones and search up the soundtrack and then search up the art book, you know, it's that easy. But I believe today art books are highly valued. They're very expensive, especially due to the fact that since they're not as relevant, their existence becomes very scarce, which makes them very rare and stuff like that. Street Fighter 2 merchandise is a hot Christmas item. Ooh. Wow. I actually had no idea. I mean, I knew there was merch, but I didn't know there was this many. Trading cards as well. Wow. And a watch. A yo-yo. Wow. Probably posters for your room. Street Fighter 2. That looks like the SNES cover. Aye, there it is. Super Street Fighter 2 New Challengers. This is the birth of new challengers, such as, this is probably Birdie, I think. Is this Birdie? No, that's not Birdie. No, that's not. That's Fei Long. Cammy. Yeah, that's not Birdie. Forgot his name. Haven't seen much of him. That's DJ. Yep. I remember. Chillian appears in the background of Final Fight 2. Yep, Final Fight 2. My dad's played Final Fight 2 as well. Yeah. Because Final Fight is Capcom as well, so a lot of cameos that you'll see. Super Street Fighter 2 Tournament Battle is released. My dad's probably played that. I actually haven't heard of this version before. Wait, what is this? Allows up to 8 players to complete in a local network tournament on multiple machines. Oh, so it's like one of the... so it's like kind of a LAN battle. Ah. 8-player tournament style competition. Wow, I did not know that. That is so cool. I gotta ask my dad if he's ever played this before. He's probably seen like 4 like in a row and stuff like that. Oh, here it is. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Yep. Oh, the animated movie. Now, here's the thing with the animated movie. Street Fighter 2, prior to the movie, didn't have any story until the animated movie was released. From the animated movie, that's when they decided, okay, we'll stick to this plot line and just go on from there throughout the games. The animation, it looks really nice. Voice acting needs work though, but of course, like, what can you expect? It's 1994, and a lot of these kinds of movies are very cliched, cheesy, and they have a lot of cheesy dialogue and stuff like that. So, Street Fighter, the Hollywood film, is really... oh, I remember that. My dad went to the theaters. My dad went to the movie theaters. Yeah, he went to the movie theater to see that movie. He also went to see Mortal Kombat, I believe. When he went to see Street Fighter, the Hollywood film, he thought it was good, but really it received really bad reviews. To him, it was good. To him, it was a good movie because it's like, whoa, I play the video game, and I'm watching the movie, this is so cool. He doesn't really care about the, I guess the plot line or whatnot. But, and yes, there was, what was it? There was the movie game, which was an arcade machine as well. It was also an arcade game where you play as the movie characters and stuff like that. And to my dad's knowledge, he didn't see many people playing on that machine. He tried it once, but he didn't. I guess he got bored of it and then went back to like the other games like Metal Slug, Golden Axe, and I believe that Ninja Turtle game, the 4-player Ninja Turtle beat 'em up game, and then other Street Fighter games. So more people were focused on other arcade games and not the movie one. So the movie game did really bad. Street Fighter Alpha. I love this series so much. I love it so much. My favorite being Street Fighter Alpha 2. Street Fighter Alpha 2 is my favorite Street Fighter game of all time. Why not Street Fighter Third Strike? Street Fighter 3 Third Strike? Well, to be honest, it was simply because I didn't play that much back then. But back then I played a lot more of Street Fighter Alpha 2. That was because when I had the PlayStation 2, I had Street Fighter Alpha Anthology, which had the games and stuff like that. So yeah, but at that time, no, I wasn't alive then. I didn't have any original copies, or I didn't go to any arcades to play that game. I just had the PS2 copy, which had a collection of all the Alpha series, and including the Super Gem Fighters game. Street Fighter Alpha Warrior Dreams, that's the first Street Fighter Alpha game. Surprisingly, what is it? Dan made his first appearance. Dan Hibiki made his first appearance in that game. But Sakura would not make her first appearance until the second game. The second Alpha game. Street Fighter 2 the anime series debuts on Japanese television. Really? 29 episodes, and also got a manga spin-off. 29 episodes, huh? I should look into that. Movie game released for 32-bit home consoles. I believe my dad did not get that. He knew of its release, and when he goes to rent games, he saw it. And I guess he thought back to playing on the arcade, and he didn't want to rent it out. Version is quite different from the arcade games and plays much more like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Yeah. Street Fighter, the US-made cartoon series, begins airing on TV. It has 26 episode run. I think my dad did mention like a Saturday morning type show of Street Fighter, something like that. He would watch it like every Saturday. I don't know when it would air. I believe it was every Saturday morning. So maybe this was it. Final Fight 3, created for home consoles, is released. Guy makes a return appearance after having already been featured in Street Fighter Alpha. So yeah, a guy was in Final Fight, then he gets into Street Fighter Alpha, and now he's in Final Fight 3. Awesome. Street Fighter Alpha 2. Like I said, my favorite Street Fighter game in the series. It's when I picked up some Sakura. I was more interested in the flawed characters rather than the more perfected characters such as Akuma and Ryu and Ken. I was also interested in Dan, but not that much because Dan was just way too horrible as a character, which was intentional by Capcom. He was meant to be a parody character for one of the characters from, I believe it was either King of Fighters or Fatal Fury. He was a gentleman who wore an orange gi. I think it's Rio. I think that was his name, Rio. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo is released. Fun fact, this is the only video game my mother would play. I remember having this game. I had the what was it? The PlayStation 1 version of this game. Oh god, I remember this. It's released in arcades. Oh, so it was released in arcades in 1996. So it probably didn't release in on PS1 until like a year or two after. But I'm telling you, man, like when I tell you, this was the game that probably brought my family together. If there was one game that would bring my family together and stuff, it would be this game, Puzzle Fighter. I don't know. I guess it was a puzzle game. Obviously, it was like Tetris, and my mother kind of liked that. And it was Street Fighter characters, which my dad liked. So I guess that's a really good deal for those two. They don't play much video games anymore, but they did play that a lot when I was a kid. and I would play along with them. In fact, I believe I still have the PlayStation 1 copy. But unfortunately, I don't think I have the case for it. I think it's in one of those CD holders. I also got the HD, the HD remix for the PlayStation 3, but unfortunately my PlayStation 3 suffered a hardware failure, so I cannot play that anymore. Street Fighter Zero 2 Alpha. So basically, Zero 2 Alpha is like, it was only a Japanese game. In Japan, Street Fighter Alpha, the word alpha was replaced with zero. And Zero 2 Alpha was basically an updated, definitive version, I guess, of Alpha 2. But I think Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, when Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold was released for home consoles, that was, I guess, an adaptation of Zero 2 Alpha from Japan. Okay. Shinakuma is a playable character for the first time in home versions of Street Fighter Alpha 2. The game was released on disc for 32-bit consoles and 16-bit cartridges as well. Actually, people never knew about this until like maybe 20 to 25 years after the game was released. It turns out you had to do like this really complicated cheat code thing, which was kind of cool. Street Fighter 3. This is where my knowledge begins to decrease a little bit. I don't know much about Street Fighter 3, but from a general standpoint, I did know that there was a location testing for the third Street Fighter game, which primarily focused on newer characters such as Alex and Birdie and whatnot, and there was no Ryu or Ken in that game. And the location and the feedback at the location testing was very negative, and it was really bad. So, in response, Capcom decided to add Ryu and Ken back, but while also making the plot more about Alex, they still added Ryu and Ken back. So that's the most of what I know. I know there's new characters such as Sean, Alex, as I said. I believe Birdie? No, not Birdie. Birdie's was always a character. I think we'll check. I think Odo. Yeah, Odo was a character. Oh, Ibuki. I remember. Oh, I remember her. She was a capoeira user. That's Odo. Gil as the final boss. Sean, he's Brazilian. He tries to learn from Ken. So Sean trying to learn under Ken, and Sakura trying to learn under Ryu. Sakura is actually not in this game though, not in Street Fighter 3. Literally. Wow. Okay, so there's Yun and Yang. I think this is Yang. And this is Yun. Wow. Pretty cool. Second Impact, it's an updated version of Street Fighter 3. Oh, here's another thing I know. People... Actually, I'll get to it when we get to Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Street Fighter Collection. Street Fighter Collection is released for home consoles, notable as the first time the previous Japan-only Street Fighter Zero 2 Alpha gets a Western release. Oh, I did not know that. Oh, Street Fighter Alpha 3 came out before Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Okay. Yeah, Street Fighter Alpha 3 is looked upon as, like, I guess, not as good as Alpha 2, generally, probably because, I don't know, I guess the gameplay, they didn't like it very much, They like the variety that you have, but I guess the Alpha 2 gameplay felt a little better, I guess. But Alpha 3 was okay, I believe. Yeah, I remember having it for the PSP, Alpha 3 Upper. I also remember playing Alpha 3 on the PS2 and stuff like that. Street Fighter Zero 2. Ooh, Zero 2. Alpha 2 in Japan was not released yet? Ah, I see. Collection Volume 2. What did this have? Various versions of Street Fighter 2. Oh, okay. Street Fighter Alpha 3 for home versions. Ah, Third Strike. So here is the kicker. Capcom decided to release Third Strike because it was like they knew Street Fighter 3, the first two games of Street Fighter 3 were like, they were okay and stuff like that, but they knew they could do better. They knew they could fix some things. They knew they could improve upon it. So a couple years down the line, they just did it. They released Third Strike, and it's kind of funny because like I said, my dad, he when it first came out, my dad did play some of it in the arcade, but he remembered that like not many people wanted to play it at first because they were iffy about the first two, but then once they started playing, it was almost addicting, and that's what got him to get the Dreamcast version of Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. It was just the only console he owned at the time, and he loved the Sega Dreamcast. Yeah. So basically Capcom decided to release Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is because they cared about their community, and they wanted to improve upon what could be improved upon, and they did exactly that. And today, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is one of the most played, the most competitive fighting games in the history of competitive play, in my opinion at least. What is this? Saikyo Ryu Dojo. Online high score sharing, but no online play. Oh, okay. Street Fighter 3 Double Impact is released. Oh, okay. Released on the home version's released. Okay, Super Street Fighter 2 X for matching service is released for home consoles. Yeah, true online versus yep. I believe this was for the Dreamcast. Yeah, I think this was for the Dreamcast. Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, that's for the Street Fighter 03 Upper, that's how it came out first, and it wouldn't come out until PSP, right? Yeah, PSP. And there was also Alpha Anthology, which is Alpha 3 is actually Alpha 3 Upper, so cool. A truly online version of Street Fighter Alpha 3 is released in Japan, called Street Fighter 03 Saikyo Ryu Dojo for matching service. It adds online versus mode. Okay. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Revival? What is this? Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Revival is released for 16-bit handheld consoles. So for Game Boy Advance? I don't know.